Good Friday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock in time for Sports4CLE. Hope your weekend's off to a great start. Thanks for joining us. Browns getting ready to head to Houston to face the Texans' first game with Deshaun Watson as the starting quarterback in a regular season game for the Browns. And word today out of Berea, he will not have one of what is expected to be his big, impressive new targets. David Njoku, with that knee injury that he hurt late in the game against the Buccaneers, ruled out. Everybody else expected to play. With that, let's welcome in Jeff Lloyd from the Lockdown Browns podcast. Jeff, not great news, but a Houston Texans team that you should beat, and it will save some of this new look offense with Deshaun Watson for the upcoming Bengals and Ravens games that you have to have.
Look, we've seen this all season. They're very, very particular and very, very almost on the cautious side with players and their injuries. And if the record was different, maybe there'd be, cause for alarm or maybe trying to push somebody out there. But, you don't practice for the Cleveland Browns. You usually don't play. That's the way it works. Maybe it actually helps Deshaun Watson a little bit because, you're probably so excited to go into this situation and, I got this guy, I got this guy, I got this guy. Maybe with David Njoku out, you can start, working on his relationship with the wide receivers. The Houston Texans are a very, very terrible team against the run. So you figure you're going to be able to eat that way. And you're looking for Deshaun, to get in there and slowly work through the motions. I think most importantly for the Browns is you're going to have your secondary players, all three cornerbacks, when the three of them are on the field together, it's a good unit. But if David doesn't have all of his explosion and, all of the athletic gifts that make him the player he is, just to put him out there to be just another guy is, kind of pointless. Dave, I know you loved a couple of weeks ago when they were going with the extra linemen as tight ends for, I think we're probably going to see a little bit of that again this week. But, the Browns have been steadfast in this. And, for some fans, I understand they probably, don't truly get it or, gives them some, pause and some hesitation. But, man, you got a lot of money invested in some of these athletes, and you got to make sure that it's about, 5 years, not just, a week, 12, week 13 game on the road against a team that is pretty much just has their eyes on hopefully, attaining the number one overall pick in the draft in April.
Couldn't agree with you more. All right. This is from the 2019 season. Some video of Deshaun Watson when he played for the Houston Texans. There, it's a zone read, and he keeps it, and you see some of the athleticism and the explosion. This one shows you how he can escape, eyes downfield, and he spots a guy wide open in the middle of the field. That's a key, middle of the field there. Again, this time keeps it. He's got a lot of room and showing off some of that athleticism out of the pocket. This is a little bit of an RPO where he's going to keep it, read it, and then, fight his way into the end zone. And Jeff, you and I were talking. This is probably not something you're going to see right away because he hasn't played in a lot. You don't want him taking extra hits. You will see him, though, if everybody is dropping back in coverage. He will beat defenses with his legs.
The first two you saw in those clips it's just a great job on his part of recognizing man coverage. So once you see the back of the player's helmet, he sees an open area. He has obviously the running ability. And again, after 700 days, I don't think that's going to be, anything designed run is probably not going to happen this early because, it's going to be a question of timing. And it's going to be really, the part you're worried about is getting the ball down the field, throwing the ball here. So, that is something that's probably, I'm not saying they're not going to work on it, not going to use it. But that will come within time. You got to get the rhythm down here in the passing game, and you see the players talking positively. But practice is one thing, as we all know. Games are entirely another other thing. And it is, keep in mind, his running ability, and as we were also discussing, he didn't really run as much in 2020. Not maybe necessarily designed. He'll take off if he's got the opportunity, pick up yards. We know that he's always been that type of player. But for the Browns, it's like let's just slowly get off to a nice start here. Make sure everything's working timing wise within the running game. Obviously his dropbacks are, hopefully going to be meticulous. He will be on point, ready to deliver the ball, whoever's open at whatever given time. It's kind of like a walk. It's kind of like a crawl before you can walk type of scenario here with Deshaun, keeping in mind it's literally 2 calendar years since he's played a game.
All right, 3 Browns who are instantly better with Deshaun Watson. This is from Dog Pound Daily. Number 3, Jedrick Wills, left tackle. Number 2, Nick Chubb, the Browns running back. And number 1, the aforementioned David Njoku, not going to be able to suit up against the Texans, but Deshaun Watson does use the tight end. Let's talk about those first 2. I get where they're going with that. Watson will get the ball out quickly when he needs to. He will also be able to extend plays. But if I'm Nick Chubb, I'm just kind of smiling from ear to ear. It's like, you want to put an extra guy in the box? You're going to be giving up some long plays.
That's probably the thing I think everybody's anticipating most, is just the threat of the passer that Deshaun Watson is. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones, this helps him in what has been a really, really strong year for him to begin with. Donovan Peoples-Jones, has shown the ability vertically, has shown the ability on the sidelines. Those opportunities are going to open up, and it's going to be probably refreshing for Nick to know that he's not going to have to fight as hard as he does, basically just to get to the line of scrimmage, and then see what yards are there to pick up. He brings the threat running the ball to Deshaun, and obviously there's not going to be the point where I think anybody's spying him yet, but knowing the thrower he is, knowing the ability he has with his legs, you're not going to be able to just say, all right, well, we'll take 24 out and see if this guy can beat us. And certainly the Houston Texans are not a team that is, orchestrated, basically to handle either side of this Browns offense. So it's going to be, for Nick, it's going to be a big, big sigh of relief, knowing that the days of stacking the boxes, going 8, going 9, heck, even going 10, I've seen in some instances, those days are probably a thing of the past for Nick Chubb, which should just, allow Nick to cruise here to probably what will be his career high in rushing yards as we close out 2022.
Yeah, I would agree, and take a little bit less pounding than he has as well. Deshaun Watson talked to the media yesterday, talked about what he was trying to improve on when he could practice with the team as opposed to being able to play as well.
I think my biggest focus was the mental part of the game. Staying locked in on defensive schemes, staying locked in also as much as I can with the scheme that we have here with the Cleveland Browns and with Kevin. So trying to watch from afar and learn and see what Jacoby is seeing on the field. During every Sunday, I watched every game like I was preparing myself to play. I kind of knew exactly what was going on. I wasn't in those meetings early on in the year, but once I was able to be in those meetings, I was basically preparing like I was a starter that week, asking Jacoby questions, what he see, and the different things that he experienced during the game. So I think that was very, very helpful.
And Jeff, we've talked about it a couple of times this week on the show. His ability to process what he sees is very, very quick, and that's what he's trying to do right now. He's trying to understand how teams defend this offense.
Yeah, that's the thing you probably get. This is where, for what'll be the rest of the relationship between he and Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett can look at something one way and, with the less overall talent that Deshaun has. So when you can go pick a brain of a guy, who does it through a little more, guile and guts, so to speak, as opposed to just, overall, just, game-breaking talent like a guy like Deshaun Watson has. And you can kind of see about it, see the way a working man, so to speak, he goes about getting it done. So I'm sure there's been a lot of things Deshaun's been able to pick up from the success of Jacoby. I'm sure he's in his ear with about every route that Amari Cooper runs. When do you feel the window? When do you see the window? When do you know he's got his guy, basically on ice? He's got his guy beat. So, for Jacoby, is the job he did here as quarterback for this team for 11 games on the field. Jacoby Brissett is also a very, very intelligent football guy. So this probably makes this transition for Deshaun probably about as smooth as it can be because, Jacoby knew the deal. Jacoby's not coming out of here going through this situation. Like he was lied to or, falsehoods were told to him. He understands what his role is now. And Jacoby Brissett, that part of Jacoby Brissett has always been a well spoken of gentleman in whatever locker room he has been in.
Time for us to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason for the first time this Friday afternoon.
Hi, I'm calling. My name is Mustafa, 50-year Browns fan. I'd just like to say I love what the show is doing. Keep doing what you're doing. I think it's been a total circus around Deshaun Watson and what's transpired throughout the season. Now I find it really odd that this lawyer, Mr. Busby, has elected to publicly shame this man by bringing these ladies to a suite to watch the first game. I mean, what is the purpose behind that? That seems kind of odd, and it almost wants to make me sway towards, this is just them adding insult to injury. You got paid, you got your settlement, but now you want to publicly shame him when, everyone agrees that he was persecuted in the media rather than in a court of law. So it's a bad look for the NFL to allow something like this, and just want to know your thoughts. Thanks.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Jeff, I think it's pretty simple. It's a PR move. By getting a suite, you almost force the CBS national telecast to show it, mention it. If there's demonstrations ahead of time, you almost force the CBS telecast to deal with it. It's all a PR move, and you shouldn't expect anything other than that. Busby has made it a PR circus from the beginning.
The problem, the thing I have is what exactly can these women necessarily do? You can't wear a shirt. You signed a non-disclosure agreement. So, I mean, are they physically just there, basically as, victims of this? And, hey, that is what it is. And, I mean, look, there was some wrongdoing. We all understand that. We do. My question isn't so much about the victims. My question is more about, Tony Busby. This just seems like a really, really weird angle to go with. And the only thing I see benefiting from a situation like this is maybe the name of Tony Busby as far as a future attorney taking on future cases. It makes for a very, very uncomfortable first scenario for me. I think it's probably a very, very uncomfortable scenario for victims. But look, it's going to happen. The CBS, look, they were not going to tiptoe around this. They're going to have to speak about it. Everybody knows it's already been spoken about in games where Deshaun Watson hasn't even played yet. We all know that. So we'll see, the way it all plays out. And I just, for me personally, I don't like the look. And I think there's only one person that this benefits in any way whatsoever, which kind of seems, very, very egregious.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's basically a commercial for Tony Busby, without question. All right, This is from the NFL Rookie Watch. Lowest passer ratings allowed by rookie cornerbacks this season. Number one, Sauce Gardner, and he's been outstanding for the Jets, was taken really early in the draft. Tariq Woolen is 2, and Martin Emerson taken 3. You see ahead of a couple of guys taken in the first round, and Stingley, as well as a couple others that don't appear there. That's how good Martin Emerson has been, Jeff.
When the Browns first drafted him, and that was Browns' first selection in 2022, I think a lot of people at the first reaction was cornerbacks. Interesting. Because, you just gone through the process of extending Denzel Ward. He had just had a rookie season from Greg Newsome where you thought he was, pretty solid player with a bright future for you. But, the second he's walked in here, he's just bigger. He's longer. He's physical. He has a great ability to monitor wide receivers' eyes. So his hands work as wide receivers' hands work, and, getting his hand in there, breaking up a bunch of passes. His work against Mike Evans Sunday was, exemplary. Just a great, great showing against a guy who's pretty much dominated the NFL his entire career. So now you have this awkward situation where they're trying to figure out who basically the nickel and the slot guy is going to be. It's not something that's going to totally suit Martin Emerson. He's a bigger guy, long-legged. But the thing is, Martin Emerson is doing such a great job on the outside. There is no thought process to have him try to go do something else. Why would you? And it becomes a nice matchup thing that you have, whether it's, Mike Williams from the Chargers. Now everybody remembers, the big fourth down breakup that could have maybe changed that game. Didn't, obviously. This against Mike Evans. So you kind of know, if the team's got a receiver, that's a little bit bigger, and we know Denzel a little, light on the size department, Greg a little thinner. Martin Emerson's done everything he can ask to this point. The Browns, for one spot on defense that seems to have a lot of questions. I think maybe now the cornerback position, and Thomas Graham played a lot of nickel last week. He played pretty good. They like A.J. Green. This is a nice set of cornerbacks the Browns have going further. And, granted, the Browns' first selection was, I think it was finally in the 70s when they finally took a player in the 2022 NFL draft. You got a guy who, carries a value of a lot higher than you drafted him. So, for everybody who wants to complain about picks being traded away for Deshaun Watson, when you grab a guy in the third round and he plays like a first-round talent, it helps you offset those types of situations.
Yeah, without question. Martin Emerson has been probably better than anybody could have hoped. Jeff Lloyd from the Lockdown.
Best cornerback on this team this year.
Yeah, I would agree. And, more you see of him, the more you want to see him on the field. Jeff Lloyd and I from the Lockdown Browns podcast going to step aside, take a quick time out. We will hear from Kevin Stefanski on Deshaun Watson. We'll also hear from Greg Newsome, Sports4CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from the Lockdown Browns podcast. Greg Newsome expected back on the field against the Texans Sunday afternoon. He talked to the media today about getting Deshaun Watson back as their quarterback.
No, for sure. When you're getting a guy back like Deshaun, I mean, the whole locker, you can feel it. Like, the whole locker room is just, it's super exciting and super happy. So we definitely are coming with that energy this game, and, we're trying to take it one game at a time and do our best.
And Jeff, that's a guy in the defense that the Browns obviously want back, but he talks to a very important thing. Everybody gets a little amped up and a little bit more excited when you got a guy like Deshaun Watson playing quarterback.
This team has one of the best running backs in the NFL in Nick Chubb. This team has one of the best pass rushers in the NFL in Myles Garrett. When you talk about the fact that you're going to maybe say that you now have one of the best quarterbacks as well in the NFL, yeah, I mean, that makes for a very excited locker room. The fact that they won last week in the fashion they did, tying it late, pulling it out in overtime, all of that with, the anticipation that, come Wednesday, we're going to take the practice field. We have a major upgrade, in our opinion, at the quarterback in Deshaun Watson. The player that Deshaun Watson is has never been questioned. Yeah, there's going to be probably a little rust, and you'll see how, the time away from physically playing the game, and what it has done to Deshaun Watson. But players are amped up. Players are geeked up. They understand that this guy is legit. He's the goods. In 2020, he was mentioned with Patrick Mahomes. He was mentioned with the Josh Allens of the world. People still believe that talent is there, and I think we're all going to start to find out on Sunday. But this is a major upgrade, and players aren't foolish. They know what $238 million guaranteed means. They know, obviously, what the front office, the ownership, the coaching staff think of this player when they make this commitment to him. Yeah, I mean, this is something, as far as going to play football with this guy, this is something that's, you're just going to get jacked up here, even with the fact that maybe, hey, it's only 4.8% chance you make the playoffs. But they got a big 6-game stretch here. And it maybe isn't so much about this season, but it's about trying to let the rest of the NFL and the rest of potential free agents know that, hey, this is who we are now. This is who we are going to be for a while. We're going to need some help. And now you're going to get some of these big names in the free agent market. We're certainly going to look at what the Browns have done to close out 2022 and see if it becomes a destination they want to be a part of.
Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, Dave. I just wanted to leave a voicemail about the Browns, team I rooted for since Brian's fight when I was a teenager. But just wanted to bring something to light that any team that would have got Deshaun Watson would be going through what the Browns are going through right now, as far as with him and his situation. If we remember, he had ruled us out first as coming to Cleveland, and he ended up coming here. But all that being said, I think the Browns organization handled the situation very well. Kevin Stefanski stayed calm, cool, and collected like he always is. The Haslam did a good job as far as acquiring him. It was a good move all the way around. I hope Deshaun gets his act together. Thank you.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. And Jeff, I would agree that one team, there were 11 or 12 that were trying to trade for him. Whomever got him was going to have to deal with what the Browns dealt with. They just were. There's
just no way around it. I mean, you give yourself of a black eye by making a move like this. And, you're going to have to go the route of making amends with a fan base, making amends in other certain situations here. But, look, talent is talent at the end of the day. And, it's, as much as we'd all love to, have this great moral compass, professional sports, it's all about one thing. It's about winning and finding the best players who give you the best opportunity to do that. I think once they were able to get to Deshaun a little deeper, a little closer with him and say, hey, look, everybody, Cleveland Browns first reaction would always be no. Hey, can you take a look at this roster? Can you look at some things that I think you're going to be able to do with us? The Browns, and it's been 11 weeks and it's been over 8 months now that he has been a part of this franchise. Certainly they've had to, take, a lot of heat, a lot of flack, rightfully so. But if this is going to be anything close to what they think it is, they're okay with it. They feel that maybe they've, taken the lumps that they deserved for a player who should make this, a team that is, contending each and every late January for the next 5-6 years.
All right, Kevin Stefanski talked today about what to expect from Deshaun Watson against Texans.
Again, it kind of goes back to he's got to do his job, and he knows what his job is, and he's excited to help this offense, help this team. Now, with every quarterback, and with Deshaun in particular, there's plays that are made off schedule. Saw some last night, and those are the type of things that God-given ability takes over as well.
And that last part of it, God-given ability makes head coaches better football coaches. It just is.
No, when you have these guys, and we've gotten into this a little bit this week here. Now, the Sunday night game last week was Eagles-Packers, and they were talking about, basically now the position of quarterback in the NFL. We're to the point now where more than half of the league, these guys are very, very solid athletes in addition to being great quarterbacks. And they didn't mention it for me, though. It was kind of like it put Jacoby Brissett in the light. Here's a guy who's a really good quarterback, a very, very limited athlete. You look at what Jacoby was able to do, the completion percentage over 64, low interception numbers through 11 games. And now you're just putting in a guy who does have some athleticism, who's just overall a much more talented player at the position. It's time. I think we've all waited, anticipated. And, come Sunday, 1 o'clock, I think everybody's pretty much ready to see, that hopefully the Browns got the guy they think they got, and somebody that can be mentioned in the names of the top quarterbacks in this league, and go on a really, really strong run here to close out 2022.
All right, Jeff, before I let you go, take a look at this. What to know, this is from ESPN about the game coming up. And over the past 2 weeks, Pierce, that's Dameon Pierce, running back for the Texans, is averaging less than 1 foot per carry before contact. That's 1 foot, not 1 yard. So I guess what I'm getting at is if the Browns defense does not contain Dameon Pierce, it will be a bit of a disappointment.
Oh, there's no question about it. And Dameon Pierce, he's a runner. He runs hard. Remember the Patriot game, Ramondre Stevenson, bigger guy, physical guy. But I think this is where Sione Takitaki playing some of the mic, Sione Takitaki shying away from anything. The Browns, you need to continue it, certainly. On the defensive side of the ball, a promising week last week on the defensive side of the ball, but we've kind of been duped into this false sense of, is the Browns defense finally getting it or not? This Houston Texans team does not have much going on. So I'm sure they're going to try to run the game, but ideally the run game for the Texans should probably get phased out because the Browns will get to the point where they have a decent enough lead. We'll see. 1 foot per carry versus a team that can't stop the run. We've done this a million times. This team doesn't run the ball. This team doesn't run the ball. Oh, look at that, 212 yards on the ground.
Yeah, and that's the one thing we don't want to see moving forward in these last 6 games is that defense. We got to see that defense progressing, not regressing, without question. Jeff Lloyd, as always, 100%. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jeff.
Thank you so much, Dave. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you all on Sunday.
Sounds good. Jeff Lloyd, Catch 'em Locked On Browns podcast. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We shift our attention to the Cavaliers. Playing really well, Sam Amico from hoopswire.com. Straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us. The Ohio Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Sports4CLE continues. We turn our attention to the Cleveland Cavaliers, currently third in the Eastern Conference. And take a look at this. So far, the Cavs 9-1 at home at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse this season. 12 of the team's next 17 games are going to be played at home. And on the back of that, starting tonight, only 3 of the next 10 opponents are above 500. All 3 of those teams that are above 500, Sacramento, Indiana, Utah, all at home. Let's welcome in Sam Amico, hoopswire.com, covering the Cavs as well as the rest of the NBA. Sam, how important is it these next 10, 17 games where they're playing lesser opponents that the Cavs make some hay?
Those are always stats that you like to see. You know, we've got all these games against non-500 teams, and most of them are at home. So it's important that, you know, we've said this all year, that the Cavs are able to take care of business at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Around split. You want to go about 500 on the road, and then you're going to be in great position when the playoffs come, you know, with a higher seed. So, you know, they don't normally consider these type of stretches of the schedule important, but it's very vital. You know, we always talk about West Coast trips or playing the Warriors or playing the Lakers or, you know, coming out and playing the Celtics and the Bucks, and those games matter too. But these games are very crucial because, you know, as we saw Danny Cunningham said in his tweet, this will give the Cavs theoretically an opportunity to provide themselves with some separation from some of the other teams that they're battling with for those 3rd, 4th, 5th seeds in the playoffs.
Yeah, they could even sneak up and you know, catch the number 2. I don't know that they're going to run down the Celtics. I think they're 4 behind the Celtics. But they do have 2 of the 4 Celtics losses belong to the Cavs. All right, let's take a look at this. This one, I kind of scratched my head when I saw it. NBA quarter mark grades from CBSSports.com. Cavs A-, and they say this team plays at a snail's pace, turns the ball over too often, and has dealt with several injuries, but has overcome all the injuries by making jumpers and limiting opportunities at second chance points and transition opportunities. They're describing playoff basketball. I mean, that snail's pace, limiting second chance points, and transition opportunities is what you want to do in the playoffs, right? Am I missing something?
Yeah.
Am I missing something here?
Yeah. That's exactly it. You know, in the playoffs, and first of all, I wouldn't call their pace a snail's pace as much as I would either a playoff pace or a wise pace. They know what fits them. The Cavs, of course, when they're totally healthy with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley and, you know, Dean Wade and Kevin Love, they're a bigger team in today's NBA when you talk about their front court, Robin Lopez. So it's good that they kind of set up an offense and are a little bit more systematic about things than just, you know, running wildly. They play smart basketball, and if that's viewed as slow basketball, then so be it, because the game does slow down in the playoffs. So, you know, when I read those comments, I was like, well, why are you giving them an A- and not like a C? But I think it's fitting that yeah, they play slower than some NBA teams, but they also, that's where they're most effective when their defense is leading to offense.
The thing to remember about that is they're a really young team, and they seem to understand that, which, again, you got to credit J.B. Bickerstaff for getting a young group to understand how they have to play. What do you think he wants to see in this next stretch of games?
The same as always. You're playing teams now, as we mentioned earlier, that aren't, necessarily going to be playoff teams, or if they are, they'll be lower tier playoff teams. So, you want to be able to execute against these teams, prepare yourself for the bigger games against better opponents, and, stay crisp. Don't just kind of, and every NBA team is guilty of this. We've seen this with the Cavs a couple times this year already. Don't just play to the level of your competition for 3 quarters and then turn it on for 4 quarters. I sat there watching them play the Knicks about a month ago at home, and they were just kind of going through the motions, keeping the game close, and then really turned it on in the 4th quarter. And I thought, boy, they played well 1 quarter and still managed to win. And then, of course, J.B. Bickerstaff comes out and says the same thing. He said the only quarter we played well was the 4th. You want to avoid that. You want to try to, you're not going to play great for all 4 quarters, but you want to be able to kind of spread it out so that you're in control and in command of the game at home against non-playoff opponents.
How important is it for them to continue to play the type of defense they have the last three or 4 games? Because it got away from them on that West Coast trip, and it seems like they've brought that back, that mindset.
Yeah, especially in the 4th quarter. That's where they were struggling with it. We saw against the Clippers, against a few other teams, where their defense would let up a little bit once they got a lead, and then it ended up costing them. So really, it's vital in these games to sharpen that up, to keep it sharp. They've done well recently, and just to maintain that ability. It's tough with Jared Allen being out. That's your defensive anchor. He's the guy who's going to alter shots if opposing guards get past the Cavs guards. So you just have to try to stay in front of your man and as a team, function as a defensive unit. And when they do that for 3 quarters of the game, they're in pretty good shape. But what's really important is that they really step it up and continue to do that and defend at the end of games.
Sam Amico from hoopswire.com and I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out, other side of the break. We continue talking Cavs. We'll look at the next step. What can the Cavs do to step closer to being among the elite in the Eastern Conference? Sports for CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Cavs with Sam Amico from hoopswire.com. Only 3 teams in the NBA are top 10 offensively and defensively as far as ratings go. So Pelicans 6th in offense, tied for 5th in defense. Suns 2nd in offense, tied for 5th in defense. And the Cavs 7th in offense, number 4 in defense. And Sam, those are usually numbers that indicate that you're going to be among the elite in either the Eastern or the Western Conference. If you're doing offensive and defensive end of the court, usually things take care of themselves.
Yeah, top 4 in defense or top 5 in defense. That's really probably the most important thing because those are the, defense is obviously what's going to make a major difference in the playoffs. But you factor in the fact that the Cavs are also in the top 10 offensively, that helps a lot, and not been totally healthy and probably haven't been at their best yet. That sounds surprising because they entered the night 14-8 and have played well lately, but they're, without having everybody healthy and with people missing games and in and out of lineups and JB Bickerstaff having to change the rotation around the injuries, it's safe to say that they have not been their most cohesive or even playing their best basketball yet. And that's okay. You want to do that at the end of the season. So those are vital stats. Those are stats that will help you specifically. The defensive stat will help you win some road games that maybe nobody's expecting. So yeah, that's, those are all good things and a real tip of the cap to Coach Bickerstaff and his staff.
So what do you think the next step is? What do the Cavs do to get solidly in that elite status in the Eastern Conference? I kind of think right now they're on the fringe. What do you think kind of moves them up into, the Bucks and the Celtics category?
Well, I'll tell you what, having Ricky Rubio come back is going to be a big help, assuming that he plays as he did last season. That will give them an instant jolt, not just in, kind of the feel good about having him back, but really controls things. Last year the guards would say when Ricky comes in, we get kind of wild out there. When he comes in, he tends to calm things down. I think it really helps Darius Garland just having Rubio around to practice against, to see how he moves the basketball. That's going to be a big help. I think they also will tell you that, they need some consistency from that small forward position. We heard in training camp how there was a battle for that job, really between Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro, and even Dean Wade. And now Lamar Stevens, when healthy and feeling well, is in the mix. They really need some consistency from that position, regardless of who it is. And they really haven't gotten it yet to this point. JB Bickerstaff has managed to, put different people in that spot. But theoretically, what you want is a solid starter there and a guy who knows he's going to start at that position every game, just for the sake of fluidity with the other four players.
All right, this is from the Bleacher Report. One trade target every team should be thinking about. And for the Cavs, they say Malik Beasley. Cleveland should ring up Salt Lake City, see if they can broker another swap. Beasley may not have many layers to his game. Flamethrowing from three-point territory, 3.2 makes per night, 38.7% shooting since the start of the 2020-2021 season. Should pique the Cavs' interest. I kind of looked at that and said, okay. Is there somebody that makes more sense to you?
Well, if you're looking for a trade, first of all, Malik Beasley's a nice player. He does make shots. I don't know that trading for him really, and he is available, but I don't know if trading for him really moves the needle for you. If you're the Cavs, you would, again, if you're going to make a deal, it's because you feel we just cannot get any type of consistency or any type of regular fit around our other four players, our other four starters, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. We just haven't been able to find the right fit yet. And I think the Cavs are there. They haven't found the right fit yet. To me, there's probably some other options that would cost the Cavs less. A name that comes to mind who's very available, supposedly, is a former Cav, and Alec Burks, who's with the Pistons now. He's having a nice season, really good mid-range shooter, very consistent, very professional, has expanded his game, to more of a three-point shooter, and he's a veteran. So I'm not saying that's who the Cavs are going to go after, but he would come presumably would come at a cheaper cost than a Malik Beasley in dealing with the Jazz again. And so I think not just Burks, but players like Burks, maybe older veterans, a Terrence Ross from the Magic, who could step in and have proven to be consistent in their roles, but don't need to dominate the basketball, will be the type of players that the Cavs will if they decide to make another trade. Those are the type of guys that I presume they would target.
Do you think they have the ability to move into that, contending with the Celtics and Bucks, that level of eliteness, if you will, or do you think that might be still a year away for this group?
You would think it's still a year away. Again, this is a newer group. They just added Donovan Mitchell. It was 2 months ago. And the Bucks and the Celtics, those are veteran teams who have been there. You're talking about the last two representatives in the Eastern Conference to come out of the Eastern Conference. The Bucks, of course, winning a championship. The Celtics giving the Warriors all they could handle in the finals. Those two teams know what to do at playoff time. They've been there. They've done that. The Cavs have not been to the playoffs. This core group, other than Mitchell, but they haven't been to the playoffs with Mitchell. So, it's a whole different ball game once you get there. You look at the playoffs historically, it is the veteran teams that have been in those situations before that emerge. The younger teams tend to, they got to take the necessary steps. You win in the first round, you win in the second, you get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then you get to the finals and maybe win a championship. And the Cavs right now are one of those teams that, hey, we haven't even really tasted the playoffs. That said, Dave, the Phoenix Suns a couple years ago were not very good. They went out and got Chris Paul, made it to the finals, and then, we've seen cases like that before that have happened. The Atlanta Hawks 2 years ago went to the Eastern Conference Finals. They advanced. So anything's possible when you have a super-duper talented backcourt in Garland and Mitchell, as well as, if you have good health from Jared Allen and Evan Mobley continues his rise, this team has the depth, well coached. I would say don't count them out, and they're probably a team that nobody would want to face.
Yeah, fair enough. And you know what? It should be fun to watch them develop and to see exactly how Garland and Mitchell learn to play with and off each other. Sam Amico, hoopswire.com, as always. Great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Sam.
All right, Dave, thanks for having me, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, Sam Amico. Make sure you check him out. Great Cavs coverage as well as all things NBA. Hoopswire.com, Sam Amico. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Some film study with Lance Reisland. We go back to the Browns. Let's take a look at Deshaun Watson. Some film on Deshaun Watson. Straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. Deshaun Watson will make his first start for the Browns and Kevin Stefanski's offense coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock against his former team, the Houston Texans. Let's welcome in Lance Reisland. He does our film breakdown, and Lance, I'm really anxious to see what this offense looks like with Deshaun Watson as a quarterback.
Well, when they signed Deshaun, way back when, I did a couple articles, couple breakdowns, and I broke down every game from 2020. And obviously with some of the issues he's had off the field, that's kind of taken away some of the things that he does on the field. But on the field as a quarterback, he is a top 5 quarterback, elite player. He threw for 4,823 yards, led the league at 33 touchdowns. He had a 112 passer rating, completed 70% of his balls, and a lot of his balls go downfield past 10 yards. he's an elite talent, and I'm interested to see how he fits in. I think he gives the Browns a ton of flexibility in both their pass and run game.
All right, let's take a look at some of the things. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is some of that action from a couple years ago when he was on the field with the Texans, game action, just kind of extending plays. And that's something I think Browns fans are going to see a lot of with this guy.
Well, when I go over what I think his strengths are, this is what he has a lot of strengths, but I think this is his number one quality, his ability to improvise and make plays when plays are dead. And when you can do this, when you can extend plays, you make good players great, and then you make great players even better. So he's going to make everyone around him, Coopers, the Njokus, he's going to make them really, really good. And he's going to make those guys, the DPJs, the guys in the slot, he's going to make them better as well. He extends plays, and he's always got his eyes downfield. He's a running back when he runs with it. He can make every throw from the pocket. I'm interested to see in Kevin Stefanski's scheme what he does.
And you saw the line there broke down pretty quickly for the Texans. The line that he has right now with the Browns is a significant upgrade. You can argue other parts. He had DeAndre Hopkins for a while. You can't argue the Browns' offensive line is significantly better than what he has played behind at Houston.
Well, not only does it's the run game and the O-line. So now you're talking, he was impressive in terms of teams knew he was going to throw the ball, and he still completed at a high rate. They were still able to get people open. He was still incredibly accurate. With the Browns, with the run game, most of the scouting report goes towards Nick Chubb. Now you have 1A and 1B. Now you create conflict for a defense. Do you play two safeties and have Nick Chubb run it at you, or do you play one hi-hat, bring that safety down, and roll the dice with Deshaun Watson extending plays and making big plays? So I think for the Browns offensive staff, they're very excited about what this offense could be.
All right, this is from training camp that you had as well. This is a scramble drill. So we saw his ability to elude and extend plays. It's a skill that he works on, and the team has him work on it as well.
Well, one of the things I was really impressed with, part of scrambling is knowing where people are going to be. And part of scrambling when you get out of the pocket is knowing where routes are going to be. And the basic scramble drill is if a guy's deep, he comes back. If he's short, he goes deep. And if he's on one sideline, he comes back to the other. And that's pretty much the scramble rule for all levels. But you have to know where your routes are, and you have to know where your receivers are. So when he scrambles with intent. He processes information very, very well. He sets protection very well. He's got incredible feet. These off-platform throws are what he's known for, but his fundamentals in terms of throwing in the pocket and on the run are fantastic.
All right, so again, working on being able to extend plays. Another one in another drill, another scramble drill. We're going to take a look at just him working and making those plays and extending plays.
Well, one of the things you get when you I really, really liked Jacoby Brissett and the season he had and the things he did. But with Jacoby Brissett and with most quarterbacks, they have to be on schedule. Everything has to work. The line has to work right. The routes have to work right. There's not going to be a lot of things that happen after the play if the play breaks down. So you're going to get throwaways. You're going to get, 2nd and 10. Where with Watson, you're going to get a lot of big plays after the play breaks down, and you're going to get a lot of plays that are off schedule. And what that does, that gets everybody excited. And all the receivers know they just got to keep getting open, keep working. He did this all camp. I watched him every day in camp, and he was consistent with this, keeping plays alive, very excitable, plays with great passion. I'm very, very excited to see him in terms of what he can do on the football field.
Well, the other thing that we kind of took a look at through what you did, just the fundamentals, and you've touched on it, but balance and the way he transfers, and those are critical if you're going to be accurate, correct?
Well, it's funny when you think of a quarterback, when you think of Deshaun Watson, you think of all these off-platform throws. And some of the video that I took from the summer, I was incredibly impressed with his in terms of his attention to detail, his footwork, his balance, his transfer of weight. How he hands the ball off, the opposite hand in when he's handing the ball off, all those little things that make a really good quarterback. Still a lot of throws in the NFL at all levels. You have to be fundamentally right. So when you look at here, he's just working his transfer, his ability to deliver the ball. He's always accurate. He always hits his spot. Rarely is the ball not catchable. And rarely is it not in a point where the receiver can run with it after the catch. So he's even, there's extreme accuracy with him. And like I said, I was impressed, obviously, with his ability to do things off schedule, but his attention to detail and his footwork and his balance and his transfer of weight, just incredibly impressive all camp.
And again, those are skills that he continued to work on with his personal coach, even when he could not work out with the team. So those are some of the things that he kept sharp as well. The thing that struck me, and you know, I've been around the Browns, covering them in one form or another since the mid '80s. The ball just looks different coming out of his arm. I mean, it's quick, it's released, and there's a lot of zip on it.
Yeah, you know, that in terms of, you know, that's the term you hear all the time, arm talent. And I couldn't agree with you more. His ability to flick the ball, and it comes off with velocity, accuracy. A lot of that has to do with his ability to fundamentally be right in terms of his feet and his weight transfer. You can see on this throw, he plants his right foot, transfers his weight, turns that hip. But he's got some ability that you just don't see very often. I'm with you. I've watched a lot of quarterback play. The ball is just different when he throws it. The ball is different when it comes off his hands. Again, anticipation, recognition, processing, coverage, all that ties into arm talent because he knows where he's going with the ball. And when you watch him on film, not only does he have great arm talent, but he knows where he's going with the football. He knows what coverage the defense is in, and it all ties into you know, a top 5 guy that is really, really special.
Yeah, and you mentioned it right there, and I agree with you 100% because I went and dug up some old video of him with the Texans. He processes what the defense is doing very quickly. There's not it's decisive, and it's the majority of the time it's the right decision.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. He takes what he sees, and that's the other idea of different. And when you get those elite guys, the information that they receive from the fronts to the coverages to the blitz to what routes their receivers have, the hot routes, the combination routes, the high-lows, you know, all those things that you process as a quarterback, the faster you can do that, the better you are. And when you watch him, obviously the arm count is different, and the zip and the accuracy and the spiral, it's all impressive. But how fast he gets to where he's going to throw the ball is super, super impressive to me.
Let's take a look at this. This is another drill, a figure 8 drill, and what do you see? What is as a coaching point? What are they working on here? What is he working on here?
Again, it's balance in the pocket. Again, just a simple drill. Super impressed with his attention to detail. So they're working a ball handling drill where a coach is going to try to get the ball out. You got to have the ball high in your pocket, both hands on the ball. You're working on weight, making sure that you have the weight underneath you. You're in balance regardless of where you're going. You're working on your drop here. Part of being able to process information and get the ball out is getting to your depth of your drop quickly. The faster your feet are, the more athletic you are, the better you can do that. So all these things are tied in here, and he does this over and over and over. Every drill, all the drills I watched, I never once saw him or any of the quarterbacks in that room take a rep off. It was always done hard. It was done with great energy, great attention to detail. There's a reason he's really, really good on the football field, and it's because he practices really well.
Well, the other thing that we will quickly see with him, he's really athletic. He is a true dual threat quarterback, and let's take a look at this clip. And this is the type of thing that it will frustrate a defense like nothing else.
Yeah, you're going to get, so this is just a basic scramble. There's nothing in terms of like what the play is. It just shows his athletic ability, but you're saying it right in terms of a dual threat. He can make every throw inside and outside the pocket, so you have to prepare for that. He's versatile in terms of he's now going to add the RPO game to the Browns offense, both run and pass. So he adds an extra element for a defense. Those third down conversions, those third and mediums are crucial in the NFL, picking those up. So now he can do that from the pocket, or he can also do that from outside the pocket. His red zone, now he becomes an extra runner in the red zone. So Jake Browns can be an empty, and he's the tailback with their zone scheme. There's so much you can do with him in terms of he adds so much to the offense. He's going to add, like I said, he adds so much conflict to a scouting report in terms of what are you going to stop. And with the Browns, you look at the Texans from 220, it was him and him making everybody else better. Now he has this offensive line. He has this run game. He has Cooper. He has Njoku. He has all these young guys who seem to be really getting better at the skill positions. Very, very interested to see where the Browns can take this.
The other thing is, with a guy like that, if you want to play man-to-man, you want to man up, which teams did against the Browns last year, they're just going to run down and he's going to take off on third down because he'll see everybody running with their backs to him. He'll end up picking up 15, 20 yards on plays like that.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. So you think about stopping the run, getting man coverage. Everybody thinks about man coverage, and you can watch tons of tape where he hits Will Fuller, and he's incredibly accurate. But what man coverage does to a defense is it takes those 4 secondary guys out of run support. So now those guys can't help you. So you have to play with your front 6 or front 7, and if you break the line of scrimmage, which he can do, and you can't spy him with the linebacker, he's too athletic. And if you have nickel or dime personnel in the game, then the Browns are going to run it right at you with Nick Chubb. They're going to add a lot of conflict. And not only that, but he can get you into the right run play, and he can get you out of bad pass play. So the Browns should be very excited about what they can do offensively moving forward.
Yeah, and Lance Reisland is always great stuff. I cannot wait to see. And I think this first game, they may hold a couple of things back that they're going to eventually do because you have the Bengals and the Ravens coming after that. So they may ease into the full playbook with Deshaun Watson.
Well, I think one of the important things, the small thing for me, is that he's just got to get underneath center. His time at Clemson, he was in shotgun. His time with the Texans, they were in the shotgun 83% of the time, which was 4th in the league in 2020. And the Ravens were above them, which is, they're still heavy run. So just getting underneath center and taking snaps underneath center, even though he's been practicing that, it's different when you're in a live situation. So I think just getting underneath center, taking a QB center exchange from underneath center is something that he's going to have to get used to. It's something he has not done in his career. So I think this is a good game to get that going.
Lance Reisland, great stuff as always. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
As always, thanks for having me.
All right, Lance Reisland, make sure you check him out. Great film breakdowns, cleveland.com. Also, the pages of The Plain Dealer. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, this week's Shining Star, Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Sports for CLE continues. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, love the show. Just want to say with all the ups and downs, the Browns fans, we've been through with the team this year. Just want to give a shout out to Joe Thomas for being a semifinalist to the Hall of Fame. One of the best to ever do it. I'm sure he's going to be a first ballot and he'll get in. But, I know I'm a little bit late with it. But, shout out to Joe Thomas, one of the best to ever do it. Go Browns.
Without question, the left tackle for the Browns would undoubtedly be more appreciated if the Browns had won more games during his time. Had the misfortune of being here when they couldn't quite get that quarterback situation right, but the consecutive snap streak and all that went along with Joe Thomas playing left tackle for the Browns, he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Question is, how high is the percentage? I imagine it'll be upper 90s, maybe even unanimous. We'll see. But agree. Shout out to Joe Thomas. Would be stunned if he is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. All right, before we go, each week, in conjunction with the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program, we recognize role model student from somewhere across the state of Ohio. Today, we head to St. Ed's High School. They're getting ready to play in the Division I state championship game tonight, and our shining star this week has a role in that. Casey Bullock, not only quarterback of the St. Ed's High School football team that is trying to repeat as Division I state champs, he is also an outstanding athlete and student athlete, getting it done in the classroom, almost a 4.5 GPA. Casey Bullock, the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education shining star. One of the big reasons St. Ed's football team is back in the state title game with a chance to repeat as big school state champs has been the play of junior quarterback Casey Bullock, a first-year starter for the Eagles.
I take a lot of pride in that, coming to St. Ed's, this was my dream, and, it's a reality now. And I learned under Christian last year. He did a great job of teaching me everything and really taking me under his wing, so that really helped as well.
Bullock is referring to Christian Ramos, the Eagles quarterback from a year ago. St. Ed's runs an offense that requires a lot of decision-making by Bullock in concert with his running back, Marvin Bell.
I feel like the game has just slowed down as the years progress. Everything's just kind of under my control now. I feel like I have control of the game. At the beginning, it's obviously faster playing the teams we play, first year on varsity, but, it's slowing down now, and I'm feeling good. When Marv, he does his thing that opens it up for me and everyone else, and, I really enjoy running. I'll do whatever it takes to help the team, so I think when each of us do our thing, it really opens it up for each other.
Making great decisions is really number one, and throwing the ball accurately. Those two things. Doing what you have to do when you do it, and we like the kids that can, open the game up with the run a little bit, and he's needed to do that some this year. They were pretty good on him. That way he broke a couple, but, when we needed the big accurate passes, boy, he put it on the money and we converted.
Big kid. What have you seen kind of first year starting as a junior? What have you seen as the years gone on?
Well, we played one of the toughest schedules in the country, for sure the state, and he had to weather a lot, through that, and I think it's paying off when we get in these pressure situations.
During the playoff run to the championship game, Bullock has been at his best. He's completed an amazing 72% of his passes for almost 800 yards and 7 touchdowns in the playoffs.
Great decisions on the read game. He'll go up in between the tackles. He can get you on the edge. And there's some games that Elder in particular, where we put it on his shoulders. Moeller, he had 158 yards rushing. So if he doesn't throw for 200, he might run for 150. That's tough to stop.
I think I just need to work on my anticipation and getting the ball out quicker than I have been right now. That'll give the receivers a chance to do more with the ball. We have athletes like Kyan, Brian, and Grady. So, I think I've been doing a good job of just learning, getting comfortable with all the coverages and really studying the defenses.
The attention to detail and desire to consistently improve are not exclusive to his athletics. Bullock is closing in on a 4.5 grade point average and takes a lot of pride in his academics.
That always comes first for me. Every night I put in a lot of work with my homework. That always comes first. My parents have raised me that way since I was little, and, the teachers at St. Ed's do a great job of really keeping us athletes, in the classroom and working hard.
I know you're only a junior, so you don't have to know what you want to study. What do you like? Do you like math? Do you like sciences? What kind of things interest you?
I say sciences and math is my strong suit. I think I'm going to be into business or finance, but I'm keeping it open right now, and I'll see what opportunities come my way.
Dual sport athlete, 4.4, 4.5 student. Very conscientious, a worker, tough kid, and it's a kid, that you want on your side, in games like this.
If you know a student who deserves recognition, we want to hear about them, and you can nominate them completely online. Go to OhioLottery.com, find the About section. Click on Partners in Education. There you will see links to nomination forms. Nominate that student as an academic all-star, and they could end up being featured as our next shining star. Casey Bullock and his Eagle teammates, a rematch of last year's state championship game. They'll play Springfield again in a couple of hours for the Division I state championship in football. Well done, Casey Bullock. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here Monday at 4 o'clock. We'll talk plenty about that Browns-Texans game. dissect the first action of Deshaun Watson as Browns quarterback. Also dive in a little bit to the college football playoffs. Those 4 teams, we'll have a pretty good idea of who they are. It will be set by Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will see you Monday at 4 on Sports4CLE.